What's up, everybody? Good Golf, one of FoliageRenderer's users, early adopters, who did a great comparison video for us early on, is working on a follow-up video built around the Deluxe Shader. And he's had some very good results so far, but getting assets calibrated between the original versions and sort of the new paradigm is a little bit tricky. And so he sent me some of the stuff. He sent me this grass. This is the first one we're going to take a look at. Um, you're probably watching this first, Good Golf, and so I apologize that it's not targeted to you directly. But I thought I'll just problem solve it live, and then maybe this will be a video for other folks. And I'm too lazy to edit, so we're just doing the one thing. Okay, so here we have on the left our original Nature Manufacturer grass, right? It's got all three textures, which you can do, right? If you're familiar with the FRDS inspector, like you've got a ton of ways you can tackle stuff. So expensive down here at the bottom, that'll let you do 3 samples, and you just port your stuff over and count on the math being a little bit more optimized, and you will save a little bit. But if you want to get crazy and like really draw a ton of grass really fast, then ultralight mode is for you. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get our data packed for ultralight. So I've already done this step. You could do this in Photoshop, or you can use the free Material Manager package to build yourself a texture packer config and assign a couple things and output your ultralight texture. So he took a shot at making this ultralight, uh, and it's very distinct, and it's a little bit wrong. So he's got a red channel output here. This looks fine. This is for we need some sort of data to tell us where two colors should go. 2 colors is enough for a lot of plants. A lot of plants are like 2 slightly different shades of green, or in this case, straw colored and green. Um, so that's fine. A lot of plants, 2 colors is enough. So, but we need a gradient to tell us where the 2 should go. So that's our first channel. Second channel here, this should be our normal map X, but this is not that thing. And then this is our alpha, blue, that's fine. You can multiply your occlusion on top of this, and it will give you, it'll kind of like double dip and give you a little bit of AO in there too, but that's a little bit more complicated, and I haven't gotten around to making Texture Packer cute enough to do that yet. And then this is our normal map Y. This might be the normal map Y. It's a little hard to tell. So just for consistency, I went ahead and did my own pack. It's going to look very similar. First up, here's our red channel. Seems fine. Okay, a note here, something to think about. You want to figure out what channel is going to give you the most clear data for your 2-color blend, right? So in this case, we've got this straw and we've got this green. Now you're going to have to use your big color theory brain here. How do you make yellow out of RGB? Pause the video and do your homework. Okay, never mind. The answer is you put red and green together, right? So the green channel is not going to give us very good. In a lot of cases, green is like kind of the ideal case because you'll have brown stem on your plant and then you'll have green leaves. And so green is a great way to sort of the green channel of your default diffuse texture, right? This guy. This green channel is going to tell you where all the green is. But when we're lerping between green and yellow, green won't tell us where the yellow is, right? Because there's green everywhere. Like, look, if we look at this, right? There's just value information, but it's still green out here at the tips. The tips are still quite green, right? What we really want to use here is we want to use the red channel. The red channel is going to give us more clear because there will only be red where it's turning yellow. There won't be red where it's green. So I used the red channel in my pack. So you got to think about when you're setting up ultralight, which of those 2 or maybe if you've got like blue flowers or something, then like, hey, use the blue, and then you'll lerp between blue flowers and green stems, right? Whatever you need. And ultralight is not designed to execute everything at the highest fidelity, right? For extremely stylized assets or assets that are like tertiary. Remember, your scene is going to be covered in all sorts of grass and different kinds of grass and another kind of grass because you got a lot of asset packs and you want it to look really lush and interesting. And then you got ferns, and then you got shrubs, and then you got shrubby ferns, and then you got nettles, and then you got heather, and then you got a bunch of different kinds of shrubs of different amounts of alive and deadness, right? You're going to have all these things. Some of those are less visually important than others. Ultralight is awesome for the stuff that's less visually important, not going to be front and center on the camera, right? We want to lower the cost of drawing all that stuff, and then we can draw the hero stuff and still get even better performance than what we're getting with sort of using the same shader solution for every single thing we're drawing everywhere, right? And I say same shader solution, but Deluxe is just, it's one shader, and then you just turn stuff on and off, and it's smart. It takes care of it. So red channel here, green channel, this is our normal map X, this is our alpha, and then our normal map Y. All right, pretty straightforward. Everybody gets it. We're going to uncheck sRGB, right? This is data information. So now you can see slightly better result, but our colors don't quite match. Our normals are all a little bit wonky. So let's do some work and let's improve this. And we're just doing it live. Doing it live. We're not, right? We can figure out how much we want to cut this off. Let's kind of get about the density of the other one. That looks a little high. All right, so there are shadows, right? Everything seems like to think it's about the same. Now here, okay, we got our alpha settings. That's cool. Let's go to our mesh normal settings. For grass, I like up. I like to just point the normals up off the terrain, sort of even it out, because grass is a lot about texture and the layering of elements and how they sort than it is about its individual shading, at least in like a normal human scale presentation, right? If you're making a mouse guard game and you're all itty bitty, grass ceases to be grass. Grass is a new kind of problem, right? So we're just looking at this in terms of your average walking simulator. All right, let's keep going here. Base PBR settings. This is a little bit too smooth. So in ultralight, we're relying a lot on these sliders to give us quality results. We don't have a smoothness map in this case, so we're just going to pull this way down because grass is a little bit smooth, but this is dead grass. It's going to be almost completely rough, right? And we'll leave our occlusion here at 1, so we get all the ambient lighting information we would normally get. Cool. All right, we can add overlay color, but now we need to dial in these two colors. So these two colors are just the default colors that get supplied here, right? And what we're gonna do is these two colors are gonna blend along this texture. So where it's black on this texture, we'll get that first green color, and where it's white on this texture, in this case pure red, because I don't know, sometimes Unity shows you stuff grayscale, and because it's the alpha, and sometimes it shows you tinted, which just makes it harder to see and understand what you're getting. Thanks, Unity, I guess. Okay. Let's go back here. So this color is just not right. Is a lot of this, right? So let's try to get this in a spot and a saturation value that we kind of like. It feels like it's in the neighborhood. You could color pick this off your texture if you popped it up in another window or whatever. And for our tint here, this one, this is actually like pretty darn close. Maybe even a little greener. Now, we'll notice here that like it's a little bit steeper between these two colors, and so we're gonna mess with that next. So these two ramp values, ramp pow and ramp boost, they're right. A gradient is a ramp, effectively. It's just a different word. By powing and boosting that, we're going to manipulate this contrast between these two areas. So ramp will make it darker, right? So as we make it darker, we'll get more of this this first color, right? So we'll get more of our green in here. See our green in here? And I can tell I want this to be just a shade yellower now. Okay, and then if I boost it, I'm gonna get more of that dead grass color. So as I increase both simultaneously, I'm gonna get more of the dark end and I'm gonna get more of the light end, which is gonna effectively give us more contrast, right? The transition is gonna get steeper and steeper and steeper instead of being really soft and wide. It's gonna get steeper and steeper. Okay. So we'll do this kind of thing, and then we'll maybe even punch up our normal strength a little bit. And that is now quite close. Let's back up a little bit and see if we maybe even want to cut off just a hair more. I don't think so. I think if anything, this is starting to be too bright. Maybe not quite gray enough. And you're like, it's not exactly the same. No, it's not. The goal isn't for it to be the same, right? Like, that's useful along the process of upgrading, but especially if you're coming at this from like the foundation of your project. The goal is to have as much frame time as possible to run your game, run it at the lowest battery consumption, run it at the lowest temperature, run it at the highest resolution, right? All those things that you would want to do. This is now extremely close, right? And really all I've done is like make sure I packed these channels right, tweaked my colors a little bit. And the great thing about FRDS is it does so much faster, especially once you start cutting out these texture samples. Like looking in here, I'm starting to think I need to actually go back a little yellower. And this is one of those like art direction, you goof with this forever things. I'm just gonna go a touch. Not much. Those look almost the same. Did I even move it? I'm not sure, actually. We could turn on subsurface here. But I think because this is mostly going to be dry and dead, we wouldn't really see that, but just as a quick comparison here, we could creep a little yellow in here. Right, and start to play with these POW values to get a little bit of light transmission. So where it's not facing the direction of the sun, it'll start to creep in a little bit of this glow. I don't think that's right for this, but for tree branches especially, that will give you more of that sort of high-end look that you're used to. So there you go. That's a quick pass on the grass to get us really close on these colors. You can see there's a little bit of specularity difference because the normals here aren't all up. So let's just real quick tinker and see if we like one of these more. Brush lighting gives us some of that. So brush lighting, this little checkbox here, or this little drop down here, brush lighting will bend the normals halfway between where they are and up. So it bends them towards a 45, which gives you sort of a nice sort of like a radiating cone kind of effect. So you still get a little bit of this, like, see there's a little specular sheen here on this card that's facing away from us. That kind of thing will creep in. Now, granted, our smoothness may need to come up to kind of approximate that. Man, that's really close. Let's leave it like that. All right, we're gonna walk away from this. I would call this done at this point. Super effective at this point. Next steps are gonna start being, okay, you've matched up your asset, and this has taken us all of, 10-ish minutes here with me blabbering over top of it. It will not take you long to convert your assets. Right, and to convert your assets to get 10 or more frames back, boy, you will have no trouble paying that cost. That's a no-brainer. Okay. At this point, we could start getting into cute stuff, which is like, hey, I wanna multiply in a little Maybe there's some more alive patches of grass. And then let's dupe a bunch of these and start sliding them around so we can see some variation. And this is the kind of stuff that I just love about this whole setup, is it's so stinking cheap that you can do these extra math instructions and you're still dozens of instructions cheaper. So now let's make this kind of loud so that we can see it for now. We'll make it red. Now we'll play with our noise scale, right? And we can see how noisy this is going to be over the terrain here. I'm going to pow that up to let more of our original color come through. Okay, and now let's just go back to this being green. And we can use the alpha to control how much. It's a little too... There, that starts to be pretty nice. Right, and now we've got some, right, we've gone from just a single dead grass that costs us 3 texture samples. You've got 3 textures in memory to get you to here. I don't know what other bells and whistles are even turned on the nature manufacturer shader here. Right, he's got his wind settings, he's got PBR stuff. That's it. That's it. There's a healthy color and a dry color because terrain will do that for you. But we also have the option here to overlay any color we want. We can do this as an overlay, right? If you felt like overlay is nice because your dark can make things darker, but your bright can make things brighter. Just like overlay in Photoshop, right? We're used to how that works. But you can also multiply. If you just want to make things darker, you can just add. If you just want to make things brighter, you can replace. Replace would actually look fine too. Maybe too much. Too much. What did we like? Mold looks pretty good. Right, and now we're getting more. This looks a little even more believable. Now we're getting variety. Like we haven't rotated these at all. You know, and we can, if we're starting to not like this edges of these cards, we've got options to fade that out. Fade out glancing edges. We can start messing with this. I don't remember what good numbers for this were, but there's tons to experiment with and get all sorts of good looks. But okay, there you go. Punched up grass. The big keys were tuning these 2 colors and the intensity of that ramp. Turn this off for now so get them all back to matching. These could totally all live in the same scene. You wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know. All right, there you go. I hope that's helpful for everybody. I think it should. I want you to have confidence that you can do it, because I know that's a little bit like, I got to do extra steps. It's like, I know, but a few extra steps up front to this is going to third the memory. This is 1/3 the memory for this asset, right? If you just have the ultralight mode, because you have single 4-channel texture, that's the same amount of memory as this, you know, albedo / diffuse plus alpha, right? 2.7 meg. Right now, pro tip, the exact amount of memory here is approximate. Per device, this will come up, or per platform, this will come up a little different depending on your exact packing format, and then its, you know, size and memory and all that. So like the correct way to know exactly what you have loaded cost-wise is to run with your profiler attached. But this will give you a good relative ballpark. Like you can do this math between these things and know I'm now at 30%, I'm now at 50%, I'm now at whatever of what I was. It's not super useful for knowing, oh, I definitely have 2.5 meg back, right? Like I wouldn't rely on it for specific memory amounts, but I would totally bank on that for relative memory percentage. So, right, our new grass costs the same as this one texture. One texture We were using 3 textures before. Now we're doing everything we were doing. We've achieved all of the visuals of the old one, and we have plenty of math space to do more and cool stuff. Like you can add the frost overlay on top of this, and you'll still be 30% cheaper than what you were doing before to just draw the basic grass. I don't know what else you want from me. There you go. All right. Thanks, everybody.